to, I welcome you with a heavy heart, actually, to this tribute for Nadia. I am just going to show you a few photos of her with really no comments, just for you to sort of visualize her even more than you do. And then we'll have several people speaking about different aspects of Nadia. And I will ask each of our speakers to introduce themselves before they speak and tell us how they knew Nadia.
Marilyn, do you want me to pull up the PowerPoints?
Don't I have it? Oh, I didn't share my screen. What a moron I am.
We don't speak about ourselves like that.
And it's still early, Dr. Rubin, so.
No, we do speak about ourselves like that. Yes, I just have to, I'm sorry, I apologize. Oh my God, I've been thinking about this since 6 o'clock this morning. I'm sorry. Just bear with me for a minute, please. I beg your forgiveness.
That's quite all right.
While we do that, I'll just do a little bit of housekeeping. Just as a reminder, immediately following this session, the concurrent sessions will be starting in the breakout rooms. To access the breakout rooms, you'll click on the breakout rooms icon on your control panel. If you don't see it, you'll click the more and the 3 dots, and then you'll be able to choose the session you want to join, and those will be opening at 10:30 a.m. Pacific.
Can you see this now?
Nope.
Oh my God. Do you have this, Jose? This is the most embarrassing moment of my life. Almost.
No, we got you. We got you. 2 seconds.
Dr. Zari will.
This is your most embarrassing moment, and I envy you because
No, I just took that back. I just took that back. It's a little rank high though. Do you have it?
Yeah, I'm loading it now.
Okay. You don't have it. You don't have it.
Yeah. No, that's not it.
No, just bear with me one more moment. I'm so literally embarrassed. I don't understand.
It's easy, Marilyn. You're fine.
You're fine.
And we love you.
Good morning, Dr. Woodridge.
How are you?
You know what?
Well,
why don't we reverse the order? Blue, why don't you start to speak and I will try to do my PowerPoint at the end.
Didn't you have someone from Bimington start us off?
No, I wanted you to start off
Oh,
with,
okay.
with Nadia and social equity.
I certainly will.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Hi, this is Blue Woodridge. I'm a has-been retired professor at the Wilder School and former chair of the Standing Panel on Social Equity. And I'd like to congratulate the leadership. Where did I first meet Nadia? Nadia first came across my screen when I was on COPRA, I think, and she was a professor at New Mexico State University. I quickly learned that she was serving as, or had served as chair of the diversity committee. It wasn't diversity and equity at that time, of NASPA. And we engaged in several things at that period of time. She became an associate member of the Standing Panel on Social Equity. And I know that some of us, including our convener, was thinking of having her nominated as a fellow this year so that she could become an official member. A really delightful person. One of the things that I did, she hosted, as I think the social equity conference back in around 2010. I tried to find my schedule and couldn't, but she and her friends at Bimington hosted a conference, a very obviously innovative, creative conference. Several of the people that she had on that conference, I invited to down at the Academy where I am right now at 16th and K, Nadia came down and spoke as an associate member on social equity. And so we became very engaged while she was planning the conference and continued that. I just went through my emails to find out and search for various emails from her dealing with aspects of social equity. And I pulled some of them out. For example, I pulled some of them out. For example, she had just sent us around Thanksgiving of last year, a bunch of us on the NASPA Diversity and Equity Committee, talking about the food for Thanksgiving thought, asking us to get involved with NASPA. Of course, she's a former president of NASPA, 2011, 2012, in mirroring the declaration that the association, the American Psychological Association, had come out on social justice and dealing with racial systemic racism. She had sent out a call for proposals that she had developed with the International Comparative Public Policy Association to come out with a volume on teaching about systemic racism. These are just some examples that she has that she had been engaged in social justice. She had mentored other young social justice warriors. I have letters from her asking for people to be nominated to NASPA Council and so on. I like to view Nadia Rubaii as being the social conscience of NASPA and other public administration communities. I'm only glad I didn't use PowerPoints in my presentation, because the only conflict she ever had was at an international conference in Thailand that I invited her to join me, and she badmouthed me because of my poor PowerPoint skills. But she sent me instructions on how to improve them. I dearly miss Nadia Rubaii.
Thank you, Will. And Jade? Jade Berry James, I'm hoping you'll say some words also about Nadia and social justice, social equity.
Indeed, it's thank you very much, Marilyn, for inviting me to share some words about Nadia. Nadia and I have had a very unique relationship, and I'll share a little bit about our relationship in the comments that I prepared. So I just want to say that my name is Jade Berry James. I'm vice chair of the Standing Panel on Social Equity and Governance at NAPA. I'm also a professor of public administration in the School of Public and International Affairs, and I currently serve as chair of the faculty at North Carolina State University. I, like Blue, am one of those professors who also keeps every email that's ever been sent or received. And as you might imagine, my emails with Nadia go back quite some time. In fact, I went back to an email that Nadia sent me. It was a report between BJ Reed and Blue Woolridge. They were chairing a joint meeting of the NASPA Diversity and Social Equity Committee. And, you know, I'll just tell you that Blue may not have found those details, but I most certainly have them about Nadia and her hosting the 10th annual Social Equity Leadership Conference. She hosted that conference June 8th through the 10th in 2011 at Binghamton University. The conference theme was Community University Collaborations to Promote Social Equity, and it focused on three main conference tracks. One was coincidentally language and cultural barriers to equity, looking or including local, state, national, international trends in the treatment of immigrants. The second track was natural resources and environment, how debates about fracking, drilling, mining exploit socioeconomic inequalities. And the third one was measuring social equity, how well we can operationalize the concept. As you can see that Nadia's vision for the Social Equity Leadership Conference was spot on, and we continue to sort of work through some of the challenges that she first laid out as she hosted SELC, the 10th annual SELC. She also, like we always do in these conferences, addressed issues of fairness, justice, and equity, particularly in areas like education, healthcare, transportation, public safety, housing, public welfare, and emergency management. We're always linking social equity across every dimension of government, and we thank Nadia for her work in that space. Also, I will tell you that she always emphasized the community university partnerships, the town and gown kind of relationships that we enjoy. And some of us work in that space very often. You know, I will tell you, my confession is that I missed the conference that year. I was still commuting between Ohio and North Carolina. My family had just recently relocated to North Carolina. My husband relocated to join a medical practice, and I was really trying hard to hold on to my academic career in Ohio. I was trying to wrap up my responsibilities as assistant chair of the department and PhD coordinator. I had a few students. One student named his daughter after me. Had a few students. I wanted to wrap them up so that they could graduate and move on into the field. And so I'll tell you, my first email after I joined NC State was from Nadia. She sent me an email right about July 31st. And I'm just going to tell you what she said. She said, "I'm writing to you in your capacity in my capacity as incoming president of NASPA. This message is a follow-up to a voice mail message I left for you in your office last week. I recognize in the summer months you may not be in your office with any regularity. One of the responsibilities of NASA's president is to appoint people to various committees, assignments, and one of the most important committees within our association is COPRA, the Committee on Peer Review and Accreditation. I believe that the combination of experience, perspectives, and areas of expertise which you will bring to the commission will be an excellent addition to the great cadre of people who are continuing their terms. COPRA members are appointed for a staggering 3-year terms." And then she went on to say, "If you're willing to consider this appointment, I would appreciate an opportunity to chat with you on the phone at a time that's convenient for you. Having served on COPRA for 3 years myself, I have chaired and having chaired for 2 of those years, I am familiar with the nature of the work and the extent of commitment required. I certainly would answer any questions that you might have. Please email me with a number and a time where we could talk." And so you might imagine I was a busy younger mother at that time. And I said to Nadia, "Well, I can only talk to you after 8, after I put my kids to bed." And of course, you know, the rest is history. We talked that day, and she appointed me as on the commission and also appointed me as chair of the commission. I believe I have the unique history of being the first African-American to chair COPRA under NASPA. And so I thank Nadia for sort of investing in me and making me believe that, you know, my leadership matters, particularly as we advance equity and justice and fairness and really deeply think about diversity, equity, inclusion, how we embrace diversity, how we advance equity, and how we drive inclusion in all that we do. And so I appreciate Nadia's leadership. She and I share a unique history in that we both had been appointed to chair of the commission 2 years back to back. So I'll yield my time back to Marilyn. Thank you, Marilyn.
Thank you very much, Jade. And now I would like to ask David Campbell from Binghamton University to talk a little bit about Nadia at the university. David?
Thanks, Marilyn. I want to just acknowledge, you may not have noticed, and perhaps this was earlier, that Nadia's mom, Sandy Pollock, has joined us, and Muna Rubaii, Nadia's sister, as well. And I'm so delighted that they get to hear all these wonderful words about Nadia, who we all cared for so much. And I would say, Blue, that Nadia's feedback on PowerPoints were not limited to conference participants. And while I did become an acolyte of her approach to PowerPoint, she did give me a few pointers, particularly when I did my job talk at Binghamton, which I thought had really sort of sunk me because I had some black and white PowerPoints that I never did after that job talk. And I remember the social equity conference at Binghamton really well. I wrote some comments, so I'm just going to read them. It's so hard to sort of imagine just reading something that might sound dispassionate because Nadia was such an important part of our life at Binghamton. But here's what I would share. Marilyn really asked me to focus on celebrating Nadia's contribution to Binghamton University, which I'm really delighted to do. And for those of you who don't know me, my name is David Campbell. I'm a faculty member in the MPA program at Binghamton University. I joined the faculty in 2005, which was the year after Nadia returned to Binghamton from New Mexico. So I spent my entire academic career working with Nadia as a colleague, a mentor, and simply really the best source of ideas for building a great program. And perhaps she was those things for me because we shared so many of the same values about why we chose this profession and the difference we wanted to make in the world. Her loss has really gutted me and our colleagues, but it's also made me reflect on how grateful I am for the time we spent working together and the many, many ways she made me a better teacher, a better researcher and colleague. And I'm guessing all of you, except possibly Michelle Piskalich, may not be familiar with Nadia's deep connections to Binghamton University. And Nadia was a product of South Central New York, having grown up in Cortland and Ithaca, which are just north of Binghamton. And Binghamton University was her academic home. She earned her undergraduate and graduate degrees here. And after 15 years at New Mexico State, Nadia returned to Binghamton in 2004. She really loved this university, and as much as anyone I have met here made it a better place, consistent with her vision for the university and for public affairs education. And in just a little bit of time I have, I want to focus on two aspects of Nadia's contribution to the university. Her commitment to quality public affairs education, which probably doesn't surprise anyone, that's what I focused on, and her leadership of the Institute for Genocide and Mass Atrocity Prevention, which people haven't spoken about yet. But Nadia believed in public affairs education and wanted to make sure we did it well. Nadia was all about the mission of our MPA program and the importance of our role in preparing students to be effective public service professionals. And she did this in a couple of ways, but most important, she led our young department through its first accreditation during the 2005-2006 school year. She understood that accreditation was not an end in itself, but rather a means to an end, a way to hold ourselves accountable for the promises we make to our students and to the field. She also knew accreditation was essential to our success as a program. In addition, she led us through several curricular redesigns focused on how public service was changing and how we needed to update our program to prepare students as leaders. She helped us through the competency assessment process, another thing I think folks wouldn't be surprised to hear, including creating innovative ways to engage our advisory board in assessing our program and helping us think through what we needed to do to ensure our students were as prepared as they could be for the kind of public service leadership we believe in. And finally, last year, she led us through a process to revise our mission, vision, and values in light of big questions related to democracy and social equity that had been raised in the United States over the past 5 years. All of this is so much more than managing programs. Nadia really understood the value of what we do and why it was important to get it right. And this work was her passion because she understood why it was important in building a better world. And then second, just this Institute for Genocide and Mass Atrocity Prevention, which some of you may be unfamiliar with. But in 2015, Nadia was appointed as the co-director of our university's Institute for Genocide and Mass Atrocity Prevention, which is really one of the few of its kind in the United States, if not the world. And she embraced that role with passion. In many ways, as some of my colleagues have reflected in recent months, her leadership at the Institute was a culminating professional activity because it provided her with the opportunity to marry both her commitment to public service and her deep belief in human rights and social equity. She used it to generate important new lines of research, focusing on what it means to bring a genocide and mass atrocity lens to both the practice of public administration and how we educate students. Her work in this field did so much for the Binghamton University community. She brought practitioners from around the world to Binghamton to share their experience with students and faculty. She developed a fellowship program to train faculty in how to bring a mass atrocity lens to coursework. In fact, she invited me to be a fellow, and it has enriched my teaching in many, many ways, enabling me to develop partnerships with NGOs in Africa, Asia, South America, and Europe. And she organized an annual conference at Binghamton that established our reputation as leaders in the field, in that field of genocide and mass atrocity prevention. Nadia really represents the best of Binghamton. I know many of us who worked with her here, I still get emotional thinking about it. It's really so hard to capture all that she was in 3 to 4 minutes. But she was really terrific. She was a gift. I told Muna when I saw Nadia before she died that Nadia always scolded me. She said, "Oh, David's going to get an award and he's going to cry." Don't cry, David. And I just think of it all the time when I get choked up and think about it, because she would be shaking her head and laughing at me for getting a little weepy. But she was great.
Thank you, David. And now, Michelle, a few minutes, please, from you.
Well, thank you very much. I'm Michelle Piskalich. I'm Provost and Vice President for Academic Affairs at Malloy College. I'm happy to be back in New York State after many years' absence. Nadia and I were PhD students together at Binghamton University, so I've known Nadia a very, very long time. It goes back into the 80s. This is really difficult for me because I can say that I love Nadia, but I loved her because of what she brought. And she brought herself and her core values to everything she did, and she was an inspiration to me. In her presidential address, Nadia at NASPA, Nadia said, "NASPA is an association dedicated to goals and values that are personally and professionally central to me." And those of you who know her know the passion she had for NASPA and the truth of that statement. She was a fiction.
Hi, Brenda.
Hi, how's it going?
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Oh, hold on. Can't hear you.
Really? I tested my,
So you might have to check your audio connection.
I did.
In the meantime, what I'm going to do is I'm going to set you up with access to pin and to record local files.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
If you can't get it, you may just have to leave and come back in and see if your audio connects automatically that way.
Okay.
Okay. See.
To multiple programs joining NASPA from Latin America, and that was one of our priorities. If you look at the roster of programs today, it is astounding how many programs from outside the United States are members of NASPA. She also recognized, and I believe that this is a longstanding commitment she made, but was to think about what our language meant when we, how we talked about ourselves, if we really wanted to be a global organization. And she, as president, decided that it was probably not the best idea to continue calling ourselves the National Association of Schools of Public Affairs and Administration, and created a committee to review that name. And indeed, the name changed as a result of that to the Network of Schools. In accreditation, Nadia was a leader, a thought leader. She was a mentor. She was thought-provoking. She was a champion for diversity, equity, and inclusion. She, as a site visit chair, while she was the eyes and ears of COPRA, she was also a mentor and a guide to programs and an inspiration to them. Her understanding of the standards was recognized, and you can still see her talk about them on the NASPA website. Those videos have stood the test of time. I looked, I kind of tried to calculate how many site visits she might have been on, and I believe it was more than 30 over the course of her career. And I just would like to say a couple of things about diversity, equity, and inclusion. In her presidential address, Nadia talked about the fact that we can't be a bystander we're in the face of discrimination and social inequities. And she took action. She expanded our minority serving institution initiative. She engaged the Diversity, Equity, and Social Equity Committee to advise her on developing partnerships with other professional organizations committed to social equity. She asked the committee to invite potential partners to engage in panels at the annual conference. And I'll just say in conclusion that Nadia contributed so much to NASPA. What I value most about her work was how she did it. She did it with kindness, thoughtfulness, and intelligence. This was the underpinning of how she worked with others. She never lost sight of the importance of mission, commitment to public service values, diversity, equity, inclusion, and social equity, quality education as a foundation for excellence in the public service, collaboration and cooperation, mentorship of programs, students and colleagues, and walking the walk in all she did. And she was a friend to all. So my tribute to Nadia.
Thank you very much. We did have one more international tribute from Fatima Oliveira from Brazil, but I'm sorry, we're running out of time. And I apologize for that, but I just thought that you would all appreciate seeing these wonderful, wonderful photos of the Nadia that we all love. I actually took this one in Brazil when we were with Fatima. This is Fatima's Love and Life, Felipe. And we remember that while deeply pragmatic, Nadia was an idealist at heart. And on the last slide, I would like to just say a few words, Jose, before we get cut off. No, next to last, sorry. Nadia's joyful way of living drew people to her. She made friendships easily, cared for them well, and kept them long. She had among her network of friends everyone from refugees whom she helped come to the US to Nobel laureates. Nadia's lasting legacy is a global community of friends and colleagues, including all of us. And I'd like to thank you all today. And Nadia, you will always be in our hearts. But thank you all very much for coming today. I think we are going to be cut off now.
Thank you, Marilyn, for organizing this.
Great job, Marilyn. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Marilyn. Thank you. Congratulations. Beautiful.
Thank you, Fatima.
Beautiful
and I know
section.
Fatima wanted to say a few words about Nadia in Brazil.
No, it's, yeah. I met Nadia at NASPA, and it was great to know her. It was a privilege to know Nadia. You had a great time in Iguaçu Falls, a special place, a connection with nature, as if we're talking to God. So Nadia, I miss you. It was a great privilege to meet you. Rest in peace, dearest Nadia.
Thank you very much, Fatima. And thank you, everybody, very much.
Thank you all very much. The concurrent sessions are starting now, but we do have a networking room if you'd like to continue to engage and remember and share stories and experiences. Thank you all for coming so much today. Enjoy your next sessions, including the networking breakout room.
Thank you, Jose.
Thank you, Jose.
Thank you, Marilyn.
We appreciate you, Marilyn.